Hi, as you can see, I have on my Patriot shirt, but I don't really think there's much hope this year. This is something I've been meaning to bring up for a long time, because I get tired of the Democrats. Did you know that, Obama wanted to use Lincoln's Bible when he was sworn in as president. Lincoln was Republican. Later on, right after he was elected, Tom Brokaw said to a group of other journalists, I guess we showed the rednecks and bigots of the 60s that we could elect a black president. The bigots and the lynchers and the rednecks of the 60s were all Democrats, not Republicans. In the 60s, when Lyndon Johnson signed in Equal Rights Act, Republicans were the ones that made that pass. Harry Reid said today that the not giving health care to people was akin to slavery. What is wrong with these people? In the 60s, I was alive. I remember. You young folks don't. Look it up. George Wallace, the governor of Alabama, was a Democrat. And when they were told they had to integrate the schools, he stood in the door of the high school when 6 black children came to go to school. He stood there with his thug friends from the KKK with baseball bats and axe handles to beat those kids. President Kennedy, at the time, I think it was he, sent in the National Guard. These were all, the South was Democratic, not Republican. It's always been the Republicans that have been the ones that are for equal rights and the black people. Do you know that, I heard Condoleezza Rice, do you know who those of you who don't know, she was our Secretary of State under George Bush. She told a story that when, in the 60s, they lived in the South, and her father went to vote, to register to vote with the Democratic Party. And I've heard often what the Democrat had, like a jar of beans or marbles or, and they had to, so they asked him how many jelly beans were in that jar or something. He had to pass that before they could register him. And of course he couldn't guess the number of jelly beans and was turned down. Her father went to the Republican headquarters and asked to register to vote, and they said, come on in. It was the Republicans. I have people in my family that are Democrats that even remember that, but still, they don't remember that the head of the Senate Democrat was a member of the Ku Klux Klan. Did any of you know this? It's always been the Republicans that have been there and stood up for the minorities. And the Democrats have, somehow clouded all of this and made it look like they were the ones that were for minorities. They weren't. They weren't. They were rednecks and bigots and killers and lynchers in the 60s, okay? I got that off my chest. Did you know, I think, that couple that got into the state dinner last Tuesday should be commended. I'm the only one that said that. Because they were, like they said, after the president was never in any danger. Of course he wasn't. Because they were just seeking publicity for a little reality show or something. But what if they had not been? What if they had not just been there for publicity and carried an envelope of anthrax or some other germ warfare? In that one tent We had our president, our vice president, that idiot Nancy Pelosi. The president of India, our largest ally in the Middle East. And so many others. If that had happened, we would have been like a ship at sea with no captain, no first mate, not even any bellboys, whatever they call them on the ship. What would have happened to the world? Yeah, they said, well, he was never in any danger. Well, yeah, afterwards they realized that the people were harmless, but they didn't have to be. They should be commended because it has been found out that people can get past security and mingle with the president and vice. Did you see that? There were pictures of this young woman with both the president and the vice president. This can't happen again. I don't agree with a lot of what our president says or does, but nobody should be able to get anywhere near him during a state, that was his first state dinner, you know, or for any function. He should be so protected that no one can get past. They could have snuck in with some germ warfare in their breast pocket in an envelope. And that's frightening. It could have changed the world. Now I'm going to say this, Republicans, you've got to get more conservative. You've got to show a distinct difference between you and the Democrats. Don't let Sarah Palin or anybody else start a third party because Obama will surely win. Conservatives should stick together but under one banner. If there's two conservative parties running in against one liberal party, the liberal will win. And so if you're contemplating that, anyone, it sounds great. A third party, real conservatives are going to take the country back. No, that would be the worst thing. But Republicans have either got to show a distinct difference or become Democrats, as far as I'm concerned. That Republican from New York was more liberal than the Democrat that was running for House of Representatives. And this business about Obama going to the military academy, and this idiot Chris Matthews saying he shouldn't have given that speech because he was amongst the enemy. Meaning our young folks, our young enlisted men and women. Excuse me a second here. But they were falling asleep at the academy. At West Point, those young people were just kind of falling asleep. He should have been there saying, we're going to win. Not, well, I'm going to send 3,000 troops, but I don't start sending them until like 6 months from now. And then a year from that, we're going to bring them back out. Well, that's what kind of a message is that for Al-Qaeda? They'll just say, all right, I'll hunker down for a little bit, and they'll go home, and then we'll slaughter everybody in the country, and it'll be ours. I don't know what it is about Obama. He never said the word win in that speech. Never said the word win. He did admit, however, that the surge in Iraq worked. Which is, you know, a year ago he was saying it didn't. But all I can say is this. I think you need it in this climate change scandal. Keep track of it. Keep track of it. Al Gore is a thief and a liar, as well as all those people have been claiming global warming for all these years, when just now, out of their own words, it doesn't exist. Okay. Pray for us all.